Hi, ladies.
Hi, Macha.
Hi, Macha.
Okay, we're being recorded. So I am so excited. I have Natalia Rose and Amanda Dennis on the line. We're going to be talking about birth and all the wonderful things that go along with it. And I'm so excited to be talking to you, Natalia, because I haven't spoken to you in a really long time doing one of these calls. And Amanda, this is our voyage sailing doing one of these talks. So this is really exciting.
Yes, for me too.
I am really excited to have all of us on together too, and especially to bring Amanda into our crazy talks. So really, really cool.
Awesome. So, Amanda, you recently gave birth.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
On number 2. And why don't you just start telling us a little bit about your birth experience the second time around?
Okay. Do you want me to tell anything about the first time or just dive into it?
Well, sure. Yeah, because the first time, did you have, you were in the hospital first time around?
I was, yeah. The first time could be considered pretty mainstream. I mean, I definitely had not come to the cleansing lifestyle as a whole yet, so my approach to birth was very mainstream. I, kind of put my head in the sand a little bit and just trusted that the doctors in the system would basically take care of me. So, my water broke naturally. I went to the hospital and, long story short, ended up having a C-section. And I think, it wasn't really the C-section that was the challenging part of it. It was the end result, or the feeling that I had at the end, just kind of disempowered. And, I remember it was definitely not a beautiful, empowering experience. And the second time around, I realized that there was a different way to approach birth, and that it didn't have to be something scary, that there were plenty of women right now today that were out there having beautiful, even they, describe them as ecstatic births.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely
I've seen that video of the woman having. Yeah.
Well, there's a movie called Birth as We Know It that really, really opened my eyes and to what birth actually could be, and probably what birth has always been intended to be for us, which is, a beautiful rite of passage that helps us really connect with our power and connect with the, generations of women that have come before us. So I saw that movie. I learned so much from Natalia and from the cleansing lifestyle, watched The Business of Being Born, Magical Child, all these different influences that really, really made me go in a totally different direction round 2. So in the meantime, we moved from New York City to Hawaii, and we're in a really beautiful setting to do a home birth.
Yeah, I was going to say congratulations again on that.
that was a good move. And so this time, just my main goal was really to approach the birth with a high degree of consciousness and presence. I really wanted to be there because I feel like the first time around I wasn't there, and I really handed all my power over to the doctors, and just kind of, I ended up feeling like a victim, although I know everything was my choice. Everything, I take responsibility for my lack of taking responsibility.
Right.
So lots of preparation went into it, and it ended up being a really, really amazing experience. I ran into my doula the night before I went into labor, and I was 4 days overdue at the time. My mom was in town. She had come into town 2 weeks. She had been in town almost 2 weeks, and we all anticipated that this baby would come early because Madeline came early. Of course, this baby did not come early. So my mom said, "You know what? I don't care. I'll stay until the baby comes." And in the meantime, Jason's mom, my husband's mom, had come into town as well. So both moms were in town. We ran into my doula the night before I went into labor, and she said, "Hey, have you done photography or pregnancy pictures?" And I said, "No, I haven't really thought about it." She said, "Well, why don't we meet at the ocean tomorrow? I love taking pictures. Let's meet at the ocean. And then since your mom and Jason's mom are in town, why don't we do a Hawaiian birthing ceremony, and we can do it, with both of your moms. It's perfect. and, we can capture it all with, the camera. I was like, whoa,
Wow.
that's a cool idea. Not yet knowing that I would be in labor throughout this whole thing. So we go to the ocean, we take some pictures, and as we're there, I realize that I am definitely starting labor. It's, the early signs of labor are happening, and it's like, wow, this is amazing. I'm here with my moms, my husband, my daughter, and we're at the ocean, and we're catching this all on film, essentially.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so we take pictures of the first spot, and labor is definitely coming on. We decide to move to the second spot to do a ceremony, and my doula is awesome. She's out, on the side of the road picking these, I don't know what it's called. I should know what it's called, but she's basically making me a garland for my head, and picking flowers for my hair, and picking flowers for the ceremony. And it's just like this surreal experience, because I'm realizing that as this is happening, that I'm like in labor, and this beautiful ceremony is about to happen, and it's just all so perfect. Like I couldn't have scripted it better. Mm-hmm. So we get to this. It's really, they're called they're basically tide pools, but they're so deep that you can swim in them, and they're right connected to the ocean. And we get there, and she gives me this white sheet that she wants to put around me, and we start doing this Hawaiian ceremony where the beginning part is a chant. And I've learned this chant because we do the same chant in my hula classes. And basically what the chant means is it's a call to the creator goddesses or goddess, and asking for the courage and wisdom. And the chant ends with "Let it come, let it flow, let it come, let it flow." Wow. So we're in there, and the labor is definitely picking up, and we're doing this chant, and it's like, I actually open my eyes at one point and see my husband and my mom looking at me like, oh my gosh, she's doing this Hawaiian chant. Like, who is this girl? Like, how does she even know this? We're in the water, and then my doula has me put my hands on my mom's hips and kind of squat down, so I'm at face level with her hips, and my mother-in-law has her hands on my shoulders behind me, and she has me sway, and do this movement with my hips, and I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, I'm here connected with these two women who basically, my mom birthed me, and I have my husband's mom right behind me supporting me. Sorry, I'm crying.
Oh my God. You're giving me total birth envy right now. Natalia, do you have birth envy?
Oh, my goodness. I mean, yeah, I'm calling in my whole lineage to get behind me.
It is. Well, that's what it felt like. And it really was, because we called in, Mother Earth and Pele and, all these goddesses of creation. And then I'm here with my mom and my mother-in-law, and we're in these beautiful waters in Hawaii, and it's like, is this really happening? This is just amazing. And I just remember saying thank you so many times for, how amazing that it was all turning out. And so basically we end that part of the ceremony where I'm connected with my mom and my mother-in-law, and then my husband gets in the water and my daughter gets in the water, and we make this circle with our arms, and we have these beautiful hibiscus and tea leaves and all these really beautiful Hawaiian flowers in between us, and we're just feeling the energy between each other. And I would go and have a contraction, and I would feel the energy and support from the whole group, and just kind of close my eyes and go into it and let it flow through me, and it was just amazing. So that was like hour 2 of labor, and basically I was done with everything in 4 hours. But after this, I didn't want to give birth in those waters. I didn't feel like I had permission to do that. This might sound weird, but I felt like I needed to go home, which was the plan. So we got in the car, and the labor was really starting to come on really strong. And I remember my husband saying, okay, Amanda, like, find a mantra. Like, find something that you can say over and over to yourself that feels really good. And at that time I said, I choose love. And it was just this moment, because it was me facing the fear that I had so strong before. And in Hawaii, they say charge it. And that's like what the surfers say when when they're going into going into the waves and starting to surf, they say charge it. And basically what that means to me is go through the fear and find the love on the other side, because it's always there, when we go through the fear. So that I said, I choose love, which I was saying over and over, and then also thank you, or in Hawaiian, mahalo, which is just basically thank you. I was saying thank you for the experience I know I'm going to have, and for allowing me to be in this place where my body is going to know what to do, and I'm so supported by, all these women that have come before me. So I was, saying those things over and over. We get to my house, and we have this great lanai where we've opened up to our friends who teach yoga for them to do yoga there. So we show up, and there's a yoga class at my house. Wow. But what's great is that it's all my friends, all these beautiful people who have supported me throughout this pregnancy. I mean, we came to Hawaii when I was 7.5 months pregnant, and I've met all these, essentially angels who have come into our lives, and they were all there. And so they all got to, see me, and I got to look in their eyes and, have this amazing exchange as I'm basically in labor and, they're leaving.
Wow.
So that was awesome. And then I basically collapsed on the couch and just got into a really comfortable, relaxed position and started the really, really intense labor part. And what happened here was crazy for me too. I started doing what I now know is called toning. I had never heard of it, but it's where you hit these notes, and it's essentially just a sound that was coming through me that when I would hit certain notes, it felt so amazing, and I would hold it for just a ridiculous amount of time. I mean, throughout the whole contraction, which at this point was 2 to 3 minutes, without pausing. And when I was doing this, I felt no pain, zero pain. And I, at one point, I had to open my eyes because I heard singing with me. And I opened my eyes because I thought it was my doula singing with me, and she wasn't. She was just sitting there holding my hands. So I realized that I was hearing angels or women or whoever, or maybe I was hallucinating, I don't know, but I was hearing these voices, and it was just this beautiful music that we were making together, and it was just incredible. And I was like, wow, I don't feel any pain when I'm there at that moment, and it was just amazing. So
you were like in an altered state of consciousness.
Absolutely, I mean, absolutely. It was again,
which is really what birthing should be like. It should be
exactly. And knowing that I was able to open up to that has given me such a sense of power. It was funny, after it happened, a couple days later, I think I was talking to my husband, and I was just like, wow, I'm really powerful, and so is every woman, and we all need to know this, and kind of no wonder, in this time where women have been very much not in our power, no wonder it's been kind of a target point for those who might want to keep us in the dark, because it really is this enlightening, transformative experience, and I can see people who might be threatened by that really wanting to make sure that doesn't happen,
Yeah.
Wow. So after that, really intense part, my doula said, okay, the tub is ready. We had a birthing tub there. Do you want to get in the water? And my hesitation was that, I've heard that getting in the water too early can actually slow labor down. So I was like, I don't want to slow anything down. I feel like I'm in a really good flow. And she said, I really think this is a good time for you to get in. So I was like, okay, I'm going to trust her. I basically dove in the water, and it felt amazing. I mean, it was just an awesome feeling to be in there and to be supported by the water again. And my midwife came about 5 minutes later, and she, wanted to feel and see where I was at. And basically she felt and said, Amanda, you're 10 centimeters dilated. I can feel the head. You're about to give birth to this baby. I was like, oh, what? I'm here prepared for hours more of labor, thinking that, because I had not really experienced that much pain so far because of what I'd been doing, I guess. And I hadn't hit that point where I thought I was going to die, which I've, heard is like the turning point where, you have to get through that point. So I was like, oh my gosh, I never hit that. I'm basically, she's like, you're pushing, like your body's pushing. So just go with that. So I did, and, that part was awesome. There was a point where I was looking at my doula, and in between contractions, she said, think about how much you love your husband. Think about how much you love this baby. Think about how much you love your daughter. So she would bring me back to that space of love that I had been able to create before, in between contractions, which I really think helped me again. Baby was born probably, Sophia was born like 30 to 40 minutes later. She came out in the water. She was blue. She wasn't breathing because the umbilical cord was tied around her neck. But my midwife was amazing. It was like, she's supported. She has everything she needs. She's still connected to you. She's totally fine. So we all were calm and patient, and it was probably a minute, maybe two, and she took her first breath, and it was just, it's just like, oh, yes. And, I was kind of just imagining, like, spirit, like, really taking its place in her body at that moment. And it was just beautiful. And, she was on me, and, that I never got to experience that with Madeline because I was so drugged up and so delirious and shaking so, so violently that I couldn't hold her. They placed her next to me, but, like, I have all this stuff all over me. She's already wrapped in all these blankets, so I never got to have that moment, that body-to-body moment. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Wow. What contrasting experiences you had.
It really was, yeah.
I mean, I almost want to get pregnant. Almost makes me want to get pregnant again and come and give birth the way that you did, just to experience it. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, well, it was definitely a beautiful, and any woman that has the opportunity to have an experience like that, I really, and I didn't walk away from it thinking, every woman has to have a home birth or every woman has to have birth in water. It was really, that wasn't the point for me. I think you could have that experience no matter what the outcome, because the real difference was the consciousness level and the knowing that this was truly an experience that I participated in at every level. And I think you can do that even if you have a C-section, even if you have it in the hospital. I don't think those are the determining factors, although for me, being at home and being in a very, very comfortable space was really nice. I mean, I really liked it. But, I think you could do that, pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, because I had, with my second child, with my daughter, when she was born, I was in the hospital, and I remember, like, feeling the contractions and liking it. I liked feeling the contractions, and they kept on asking me if I wanted the epidural yet, and I kept on saying, like, not yet, I'm good, I was really, and because I was being very mindful of it, and at the time I had been really into meditation and all of that, so I kind of wanted to use my skills, but yeah, when finally, like, they rushed in and they forced the epidural on me, and I was like, all right, whatever, but I tried to remain very mindful of the whole process. So, yeah, I think it's just making the decision to take control of your own birth, even if you lose, let's say, control, even if the doctors do take over. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, and also what you did was when you were liking the contractions, I think same for me, it was like knowing what the contractions were doing is what they're supposed to be doing, and that they're opening up that gateway for the baby to come. So it's like, well, instead of fighting it, instead of feeling resistance to it, surrendering to it and saying, this is supposed to be happening, and it's a really good thing that it's happening because that's opening up that door. And I think I took this restorative yoga class throughout the time we were here in Hawaii every Saturday. It was just this amazing oasis in my week of, it was just a great class. And one thing the teacher said is, the next time you stub your toe, say thank you. And or something happens, you feel pain, say thank you and feel how different that is and how much easier it is to get through that pain. I think essentially what you did and what I was doing, and I think probably anyone who experiences it in a positive way, I think it's that acknowledgement that what's happening is good and giving thanks for that.
Yes.
Getting in that space of gratitude.
So beautiful. I love it. I love your story. Your story goes down in my book as the best first story ever.
Oh, thank you.
Especially the contrast of the two, having had the two experiences. It's really amazing. And Amanda, can I ask how things felt? I mean, in terms of if you don't mind broaching this, I think people would be really interested to hear about what you decided to do with your afterbirth, with your placenta.
Okay.
Did you go there?
Yes, I knew you were going to bring this up, Natalia. Okay. So I had what's called a blessings way here, and I'd never known what this is, but it's basically like a Hawaiian/Native American take on the baby shower. So even putting it in the category of baby shower is funny to me because it's not. It was this beautiful, amazing experience that I got to have with these 8 women where it was just a real powerful connection. And I'm actually I will write a blog about it because I think every woman deserves to have this baby shower, which is not a baby shower. It has nothing to do with showering someone with gifts, like material gifts. It was all about showering me with true inspiration and love and support and just beautiful things. Anyway.
Well, I want to hear more about it. So when you do write the blog, I want to know about it because I have a very, very good friend. On the 19th, we're doing like a little baby shower, and I keep on having this. I've told everybody who's coming, and this is not a baby shower. This is a meditation. This is going to be an evening of just blessings for her.
Awesome.
Yeah, so you'll
I would love
me
to
in.
share. Yeah, Macha, if you want to do another audio on that would be great.
Yeah, let's do that.
It was beautiful. So, anyways. At one point, the women said to me, actually as they were massaging me, which is just the best thing ever, what are you planning to do with the placenta? And I was like, I don't know. I haven't thought about that. And some of them started talking about it, and one of them brought up the option of actually eating the placenta. And I was like, oh my God, I am not doing that. I looked at my doula and I said, I'm game. Like I'm a gamer. I'm in Hawaii, and I basically said, I did my first birth, which I feel like was, somewhat in, I'll use Natalia's words, the paradigm of untruth or, the mainstream way. I'm totally open to a lot of experiences, but I'm not going to do that. My doula looks at me and raises her eyebrows and goes, well, you might want to reconsider that. And I go, internally, I'm like, oh, my God, I'm going to end up eating the placenta. I just know where this is going. So I'm thoroughly disgusted. But, again, I'm kind of having this openness here in Hawaii and embracing new experiences. So all the women then start to explain why. And basically what I've come to learn is that most mammals and all cultures who have no postpartum issues eat the placenta. Wow. And so my doula, raised her eyes and she said, you might want to reconsider this, and here's why, and but here's how I'll do it, so that you don't have to think about it. So what she said is, right after you give birth, when you're still in that state of bliss and you're not even paying attention to me, what I'll do is I'll put it in really small pieces. So you can basically put it in your mouth and take it with water.
Wow.
Really quickly, and you don't, just like take it like a pill.
Like a placenta pill. I was going to say placenta pill.
Yeah. So I was like, and she's like, I swear this is going to help you avoid so much pain in the future because it helps to regulate your hormones. You're essentially pumping your system. You're flooding your system with nutrients and enzymes that basically created the baby that you just birthed. And This is an organ that your body created in 9 months that houses like all the good stuff you consumed. So I was thinking about, all my green juice and, all my salads and, all this stuff. I'm like, wow, if I can kind of, like get all that back into me, because and the other thing is when you do give birth, your body is so depleted so quickly, you know. So I agreed to that part of it, because I was like, okay, I'm not going to have to think about it. So then she said, and what we'll do with the rest of it is we'll freeze it, and then I'll come back to your house, you know, a couple of weeks later, or not a couple of weeks later, a couple of days later, and we will she said I will, which is why I've agreed to this whole thing, because I was not going to have to be a part of it. She was going to do all of it. I said to her, I'm like, I have a hard time chopping or cutting up chicken. Like, this is going to be like really, really hard for me to look at and, you know, be a part of. So I was like, I'll take care of it. Yeah. So she said, I'll take care of it. So basically what she did is she didn't come back a couple days later. She came back about a week later, maybe it was 4 days. But she cut it again, and then we put it in the dehydrator. And once it was dehydrated, it was literally just kind of like beef jerky. I mean, I know people are probably thoroughly disgusted right now. I hope that this is not.
I am so not. I would seriously, if you served it to me right now, I'd eat it. Honestly, you're making it sound very enticing. I swear to God.
Okay. Anyways, so once it was like beef jerky, then what we could do is put it in the Vitamix and powder it. And then after powdering it, we could put it in these pills. There's basically this little thing you can buy. We bought it at the health food store that helps you make pills. So my dear husband is the one who ended up doing this. So he put the powdered placenta essentially in the pills, and I've been taking
care of it. It's like a weird type of like Scarface moment, you know? Like,
oh my God,
mixing.
Well, and this is funny. So I talked to my brother the other day, and he's just a funny character. And he goes, Amanda, I heard about the placenta, and I'm seriously distraught. I have these images of you and Jason over in Hawaii, like kind of like becoming like these weird cannibal people, and I was like, oh my gosh, Patrick, it wasn't like that at all, I promise. And
so funny.
I explained it. So anyways, but what happened, so ideally you would do what my doula did, take basically the raw placenta right after birth, and then you would start taking the placenta pills pretty quickly after that. And I think what happened was I bought about a week by taking that first dose that she gave me. But and for a week I felt amazing. But after that, we didn't jump on the project like we should have. It seemed totally overwhelming to me. She came and she chopped it. She put it in the dehydrator, but I needed to then do the pill part, do the Vitamix and do the pill part, and it just seemed so overwhelming to me, with the two kids and everything.
And yeah.
So I dropped the ball and I didn't do it. So I essentially I definitely went into a pretty deep funk, and I've heard different interpretations of why that would happen. For me, it felt like I had this like extremely blissful experience, and then it was just like this crash. Like I came down pretty hard. Another way to look at it is that when we give birth, we essentially open our entire body, and so we open up our energy field and all of our selves to and then so we feel things a lot more deeply.
So you're raw. You're like raw emotion, basically. Yeah.
Exactly. So I dropped the ball. I didn't do it. Another angel comes into my life and gives me this book called Postpartum Recovery. Jason gives it to Jason. And Jason gives it to me, and he's like, read this, because obviously he's affected by this kind of like darkness that has come over me, and I'm just crying all the time, and I'm pretty sad. I read the book, and there's a paragraph in it that says, that part that I said earlier, most mammals and all, cultures that don't have issues postpartum eat the placenta, but and even in China, they put the women in bed for 2 weeks and force her to eat a placenta soup essentially for 2 weeks. But then the next sentence was, but we know most Western women will not do this. So here's 200 pages on supplements and this basically this diet that you need to consume in order to mimic what the placenta does.
Wow.
So I read this book, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, I'm ridiculous. I say to Jason, let's finish the project. Let's just do it. I need to do it. I mean, I can either, worry about all these other things, or I can just do the project as planned. Mm-hmm. So dear husband goes out and gets the pill-making thing and all that and finishes the project. I start taking the pills, and literally it feels like I'm taking miracle drugs. I mean, I just start coming back to myself and getting back even to that blissful state that I felt right after having Sophia, and it has really been an amazing recovery since I did that.
Wow.
So as gross as it
crazy. And it goes back
sound.
To that,
yeah,
I'm sorry, I was going to say it's crazy that we don't, like myself included, like we are so quick to not do the things that we know will make us feel better.
Totally. And Masha, one thing I was thinking is so I said to my brother too when he's like, oh, I'm so distraught. I said, Patrick, have you ever eaten a hot dog? Have you ever eaten a rare steak? Like, those are unknown organs from unknown animals that, that's way more gross. Like, if you really think about it.
Yeah.
Like, is it that gross, like what I did? Like, really think about it, and it's just, again, I think it's just this programming and just kind of the way that we think about things. And, when you really think about nature being perfect, it's like, well, probably there's a reason why you create this organ and why you deliver it and why, it probably makes sense to reabsorb it back into your body.
Mm-hmm.
So
totally.
I hope that wasn't too unappetizing for people.
No, I love it because it just proves again this point of just that we're so, we push against the things that we know would make us feel better.
Yeah.
Or,
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions about the placenta. Two things. One is, in your case, you were taking all these beautiful live foods and everything while you were pregnant, so your placenta was receiving all that. If it becomes a storage house for all the, everything you've taken in, then would it stand that somebody who's had a really bad kind of pregnancy diet should not consume their placenta?
Well, so from my understanding, and Natalia, I have every intention to dig into this even deeper. I have a pretty surface level understanding of how it all works now, but from my understanding, I believe the placenta does also act a bit as a filter. So I don't think everything you eat goes into it. I think it pulls the things that are beneficial to building the baby.
For the baby, yeah.
Okay, so it's definitely going to be the best of the best no matter what anyone takes in.
Yeah.
Okay, the other question is, would it make more, I always think in terms of, the vitality is in the liquid.
I know.
But I mean, the fact that it worked as a powdered pill form really says a lot about it. I wonder, though, if someone like, such as myself, were to decide to do this when the baby comes, if like a placenta soup wouldn't be a better idea. Can you juice the placenta?
You know what, Natalia? I thought about that a lot. Because I was like, well, yeah, because I was thinking, am I sucking out, some of the vitality from this? And you got to think I probably did, even though I still was able to get so much. So if you can do it, Natalia, I'm all for it for you.
I just love the idea. Can we put in the recipe section like placenta in a bowl?
You know what? Maybe you could do it the way that my doula did it for me, and just put it in those, little chunks. Although, you kind of have the issue of how long it's going to stay good.
I guess you could pretty much take it all over the course of a week or two.
Which I don't think would be a bad thing. I don't think you have to prolong it. Although I am right now, I take 3 of the pills a day, and until I run out, which I still have quite a few. So. And I'm almost 5 weeks postpartum.
Wow.
So,
yeah. They sell the disgusting bovine colostrum in the health food stores, and and people buy that stuff. You'd think people who wouldn't want to take their placentas, someone could go out and collect them who wanted to make a business out of placentas.
Seriously. Oh my
God. We're going too far now. But I love this idea of placenta soup.
Yeah, that's great.
But yeah, I see one has to prepare oneself and probably one's family for this this idea. So beyond that, Amanda, I'd love to hear more about the compare and contrast the couple of weeks that followed, including your nursing experience, including your physical recovery, including just like all the things that were the case with the previous and the current. And in both cases, look, you have these two gorgeous babies. So it's, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we look forward to. But just in terms of how the body responds to both events would be really interesting and how the baby responds to both events.
Absolutely, yeah. Drastically different. So basically with Madeline, who, by the way, I thank a million times over, and I consider basically like my master, like my greatest teacher, because it is everything that has to do with her birth is what has catapulted me into this whole new lifestyle, and has ended us up here in Hawaii. So she has been the catalyst for everything, and I truly believe she decided to forfeit the blissful birth experience that Sophia had in order to be my best teacher. So
she masterminded it, yeah.
She did. I know she did. So I think she and Sophia were totally in cahoots. Madeline was like, I'm going to go down, teach Mommy a lesson, and then you're going to come through and you get to have, this experience. And, I'm sure that's how it works.
Totally.
Yeah. So anyways, I wasn't able to put Madeline on me right away, and I really think that affected our breastfeeding. So she didn't have that opportunity to latch right away. I can't remember exactly, but I believe it was probably about 2 hours before I was able to feed Madeline and have her on my chest that way. And she was given a bottle in between that. So when she went on, we definitely struggled with the latch. So I had, the cracked nipples and the, all that pain. And, I just remember just crying as she would latch because it was just so painful. So I do think missing that opportune moment right there in the beginning had a very drastic effect on my capability to breastfeed. Not only that, but we also, because I was so tired and because of the, basically very traumatic experience, we did decide to have her sleep in the nursery when I was, at night. But we gave instructions to bring her in whenever she needed to feed, which those instructions were promptly ignored or forgotten or whatever, gives them the benefit of the doubt. But she was not brought in to me. I remember waking up 8 hours later going, oh, my gosh, she didn't feed that whole time? And they said, no, we fed her. So she was given formula. And I think what that did was I never got to establish my flow. So I always had to supplement with her. Even though I breastfed for about 7 months, I had to supplement from day one because in the afternoon I could never keep up with her demand. I also think I didn't understand that when she was suckling so much, she was trying to stimulate that demand. I didn't understand that and thought, oh, geez, she's not getting anything, so I would give her the bottle, which then obviously created this perpetual cycle of me never creating enough. Actually, can you remind me to talk about that in a second? Because that I actually have learned something interesting about the suckling too. But so the recovery also, obviously, it was a C-section versus the vaginal birth. So the C-section recovery was much, much longer. And even though it was a pretty smooth C-section recovery, it obviously was, more like 5-6 weeks versus I've, been up and at them, probably a couple days later after the vaginal birth. I did tear a little bit with the vaginal birth, but it's healed easily and, has not been anything that has been, overly traumatic there.
But from what you told me, that was the only moment when you didn't really listen to your body that happened.
Yes, Natalia, yes. I remember being in the pushing, and it felt like kind of chaotic, like there was a lot of voices. And I remember saying, I feel the burn, because when you get to that point where the head is crowning, there's that moment, they call it the ring of fire, where you feel a burn. And I said, I feel the burn. I said, should I push through it or should I wait? And I thought they said, push through it. And had I really listened to my intuition, I would have stopped because internally I was saying, stop, like pause. But there's that really overwhelming physical, need to keep pushing. I listened to their voices and I pushed, and I knew, like I was like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. And so I basically knew. But
it turned out that they didn't even say that. You just thought they did, right?
Right. I thought they did. I thought they said push through it, but Jason said they said don't push through it. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyways, so there was that part of it, the actual C-section versus the vaginal birth. I mean, my midwife said, compared to, what would you say is the overwhelming difference between this and the other births? And I said, this was so much easier. Even though I went into that birth thinking that I could take an epidural, feel no pain, and just have a baby. I mean, that was what I was going to do. It was so much easier going this way than it was the other way, where I basically just thought I could avoid the pain. That was not the case. It was definitely much more painful during and after the first way.
Oh, yeah.
And then you were going to say something about the suckle.
Yes. So what I noticed with Sophia, and this was when I was in the dark part of my recovery, this was really hard, is she was suckling kind of like nonstop from about anywhere from like 4:30 in the afternoon until about 8 at night.
Wow.
And I just felt like she was like this kind of football that I was just passing from boob to boob. It was like, oh my gosh, this is exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
And where I found out, my friend here is a cranial sacral practitioner. And what she said is that when the baby goes through the birth canal, the front of their skull gets pressed together, and also the top of their mouth. Natalia, what's that called? The top of your mouth.
The
palate. Yeah. The top, the palate part gets squeezed together and actually can kind of like overlap with each other in an effort to get the babies through the vaginal canal, which makes sense. But the suckling actually relieves that pressure for the baby. So that's the one, that suckling is the one thing the baby can do to actually relieve that pressure. So there is the component of the supply and demand and the baby actually preparing you to create more breast milk later. But in this case, it was weird because I knew she wasn't hungry because milk was coming out, and she was actually, babies' stomachs are so small that they actually they fill up, and so the milk sort of spills out of their mouth. It wasn't really spit up. She was just kind of like bubbling over. Like she had too much milk in her mouth. So it wasn't that she was hungry, and it wasn't that she was suckling when I was dry, kind of preparing me for later. It was really that she just needed to suckle, so much so that I was tempted to give her the pacifier. But what I learned is that a few very easy cranial sacral sessions, it was like 10, 15 minutes, were able to relieve the pressure so much that her suckling went from, I was sitting there from 4 to 8. Now I was only sitting there from 4 to 5. And it was literally 2 sessions with her that was able to relieve this pressure for Sophia. So that's just something to think about, I think, for people that find themselves in that situation where it seems kind of excessive, and they know they don't want to go the pacifier route because of, all the reasons why that might not be ideal. But this was really able to give me that relief, and Sophia, obviously, too, to relieve the pressure she was feeling. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's like everything that they do is for a reason. They're not just crying because they want to annoy us. They're crying because that's the way they're communicating. Yeah.
I guess most babies could benefit from this. They've looked at it, and most babies do get that pressure right there in the front of the head and then in the top of the mouth. And most of them are vastly relieved by a couple of sessions.
Wow. That's huge. I'm going to tell that to all my friends who are having babies.
Yeah. It definitely helped in our situation.
Well, yeah, I'm going to send this audio to all of them because this is important information.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, my God. I feel like I've been through, birth just by your whole story. Yeah.
Hopefully it was good.
It was great. I'm like sweating. Like, wow, I was right there with you. This is like a really great like documentary. Like I had such great visuals of your birth experience.
Good. And actually we do have a lot of pictures because of that ceremony we were doing.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to post them, and I'm also going to post the pictures from my first birth, because I think some of the things that are really interesting to note is it's just interesting to contrast sort of the sterility of the first experience. Even though obviously I'm so thankful for it. But I have the hair cap on, and I'm in the a hospital gown, and we're in the hospital bed, and Jason has his what are they called, the green
the mask thing.
Yeah, all of that.
The scrub, yeah.
And the way that they sort of whisked Madeline away, and she's being weighed and measured, and she's got gunk in her eyes, and and it's just like the difference between that and then what we got to do at home. Is, to me, it's pretty dramatic. I look all puffy and scary, in the first one, and I just think
second one you have flowers in your hair.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm swimming in the ocean in like a sarong and flowers. It's like it feels really different. Yeah,
because they always say, like, there's I have a lot of friends who had C-sections, and there's some doctors that won't go, and they won't do they call it a VBAC.
Right.
Like they won't do it. They won't do it. Like if you've had a C-section, they're like, all right, we're going to just schedule another one. They don't even give you a chance.
Well, the hospital here is the same way. So I knew that if I ended up having to go to the hospital, I would end up having a C-section because they won't do it. And it's so interesting because when you really look at the statistics, the chances of complication with an elective C-section the second time around are way greater than the chances of any complications with a natural childbirth after a cesarean. So there's this remote risk of a uterine rupture, and a uterine rupture is deadly to the mom and the baby. So, but it's like a 0.001% chance, and there's all these other complications that can happen with a C-section. So, and including death. So it's like it really understanding the business behind all of this has been very helpful to me. And anyone who wants to understand it, The Business of Being Born is a great movie. And there is so much money to be made in cesarean section that it's no wonder. I mean, it's like they have the C-section the first time. Well, it's a shoo-in that, I mean, I remember looking at my hospital bill from Madeline, and it was, even though we had insurance, it was an $80,000 bill.
Wow.
Because you have the anesthesia and the surgery and then all the drugs after, the 4-day hospital stay. It's an $80,000 price tag versus my $2,000, which of course insurance wouldn't cover, my $2,000 home birth with a midwife and a doula.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's there's a lot behind it, and I think anyone who's interested, once you start sort of peeling back the onion, you kind of understand where this is all coming from, and it makes sense, and then you just decide whether you want to opt in or opt out.
Amazing.
And how you want to do it.
Wow. Well, I've learned so much just from this conversation, and I just can't wait to share it with all of my pregnant friends and all of my friends who will have babies one day. This has been just amazing. I want to do another audio about the shower, the ceremony. Yeah.
I just have one more question I know people are wondering, is how, in terms of the body bounce back, do you feel like your body's like getting tighter and back to normal faster?
Yes, and Natalia, brilliant Natalia, swore, or just, she made me promise that I would purchase a girdle. Okay, so there's a lot of reasons why the recovery obviously has been better, but one thing I definitely want to point out is this girdle that I've been wearing from day one, and actually my doula, my midwife, they all have echoed that this is the best thing to do because I'm pulling my organs, you're supporting your organs and helping them to really get back into place. Not only that, but you're supporting your pelvis. and helping that to, that has expanded so much. So the girdle is really helping to pull everything in. I know that I did the cleansing, Natalia, the Rose program for at least a year and a half before I got pregnant. I continued that eating, essentially. You can see my blog. I talk about, how I made some adjustments just to accommodate the first trimester. But second and third trimester was basically straight up, juicing and salads and really clean foods. So I know that my diet made a huge difference. And I'm already almost back into my pre-pregnancy clothes, which is amazing because with the first birth, the reason why I even found Natalia in the first place is because I was struggling so hard to lose the baby weight. I mean, I was desperate, devastated because I was, having to buy new clothes and I was back at work and I felt huge. And it was because I couldn't lose the baby weight. But this time around, I'm already feeling great. I'm able to get back into the water here soon, and I can't wait. I'm not scared to put on my bathing suit. It's I'm already feeling great. I'm not back to my normal self yet, but I know, having worked so closely with Natalia, that I can expect that to happen around 4 months. So
totally.
I'm giving myself that time. Go ahead.
Yeah, because people always say, it takes 9 months for you to get that, to make a baby and to be that size, and you have to give yourself, your body, your time to just get back its elasticity, I guess it is, after. So, 4 months is usually, around that time.
It's been a month, right? It's been about a month.
Yeah, what Natalia?
It's been about a month now?
Yeah, it's been a month. And I feel awesome. I mean, I'm definitely not back at where I was, but I'm getting there, and I feel like last time what happened was I lost 20 pounds, kind of I had gained 40 plus with Madeline, right. And I lost 20, very easily, and then I had 20 to 25 to get back to a weight that I was never even happy with to begin with. So now I'm 20 to 25 pounds heavier than and I didn't really like where I started, so this was really hard. But what happened was I lost that 20 pounds, within the first 2 weeks, and then for 7 months I didn't lose a pound, no matter what I did. I went and saw a nutritionist. I was eating what I thought was healthy. I was working out. I was doing everything I could, really to the T, and I wasn't losing a pound. So it was it was horrible. Yeah. And then I read Raw Food, Life Force Energy, and it was weight melted off, and that 20, 25 pounds that I was struggling with melted off in probably 2 months. Yep. And then after that, I lost an additional 30. So
that sounds like my post-baby thing. That's when I discovered Natalia too, and I just down everything.
Yeah.
Went, yeah.
Yeah, it was just just melts away.
It's funny because when you live this way, you don't really even think about pregnancy weight as something that's going to stick around. People say to me, I'm afraid to get pregnant again, or I don't want to because I'm going to, gain. It's going to change my body. When I got pregnant again, I was I almost feel like it. If you do it in this context, it sends a surge of youthful energy in, and I mean my skin quality has never been better. I know I've got all the hormones of pregnancy now, but I just feel like it gives you almost a new trigger of vitality that you can then harness, for your future years.
Yeah.
It's not devastating by any stretch.
No, and especially, I mean, if you do get to have a great birth experience, now combine that physical aspect with now emotionally and spiritually, you feel so much lighter and Sophia, so much more expansive. I mean, so now you have it all going for you. So watch out.
Yeah, I mean, you really do, Amanda. I mean, I feel like it's time for you to put all this into a book. You have to figure out, because you've got to find a way to give this to women. They need it. Everything from, I mean, I bet you the placenta is going to become a new trend, just like juicing and colonics did.
Totally.
Everyone's going to be having their placenta with their, green juice or something. I mean, Lord knows I am, and I don't care what anyone says. I'm sure my husband's going to look at me like I've got 10 heads, but, if it works, it works. I mean, we're having to learn all these indigenous secrets in the most bizarre ways, but if we're open to them and ready to receive them, they're coming our way. It's almost like we're putting the pieces of the puzzle back together again. Even though we're these whiteys that don't really have any, lost our connection, we're getting it back, darn it.
Yeah, I thank the Hawaiians here, and there's a lot of Native Americans here who really are still like the more on the indigenous. They're very still connected, and they're sharing all this wisdom with me. And Natalia, I feel an overwhelming sense of responsibility to share this because I feel like it's been such a gift, and I feel like it, as these secrets kind of from the past have been given to me, I know that it's my responsibility to help, bridge that gap with, with women everywhere.
Yeah, I think we should do a workshop or something. It's so awesome. I mean, I love hearing this stuff. Every time there's a new gateway that opens to information, even the craniosacral aspect that you mentioned, it's all like it gives us buoyancy. It takes layers off of our eyes. It's so incredible.
Well, and back in the day, moms and grandmothers and stories were used to pass all this information on to us as women. And, since that's been lost, I mean, I look at my mom and her mom and their birth experience. They can't teach us because they've been in that dark place where all of this, it's been lost, So to have every woman who's having these experiences and bringing new pieces to the puzzle, we all need to come together and share it. I mean, even just the simple blessings way, that shower that I had, it was like, wow. Part of it was clearing the energy in the home to make it, right and good for the birth, and all these things that happened. It's like every woman needs and deserves to have this if she wants it. If she wants it, I want them all to have this because it's just been so transformative.
Well, it's up to our generation, to people like you who are experiencing this, to be able to make this ancient wisdom part of our everyday society and just part of the norm again, because we've lost that along the way. So we just need to get it back to be more accepting of it.
And in that movie, the one that everyone has to watch, which is Birth as We Know It, have to watch Birth as We Know It.
Okay.
It's incredible. Amanda said it to me. I have to second that.
I'm gonna watch it tonight.
I don't think they have an option to download it and watch it online.
Oh, I have to buy it.
You have to buy it, but it's worth it. Yeah.
I will.
It's amazing.
One of the things they said that really rang true for me, or really resonated with me, was we will continue to recreate the birth that we had. So I was born via C-section, and my first birth was a C-section. And, we're going to recreate this cycle of trauma until we can face those fears and we can face what happened and bring it into light and address it and make the conscious decision to change it. So I've since I saw that and I've been thinking, wow, the cycle of trauma has to end somewhere. Like, why not have it end with us, with this generation, with and maybe we're the first generation that can actually pass down beautiful birth stories to our daughters and, help them to really feel empowered by this experience and, just turn the tide and make it go back the other way.
Right. Oh, my God. I love that. I mean, just even I plan on sugarcoating a little bit, but I'm going to tell them all the wonderful things that happened during the birth. Because so many times, like, I know my mom's birth story, and it's pretty traumatic. She pushed for 21 hours, and then they had to do a C-section, and I came out, and I had jaundice. Like, that doesn't seem like a very welcoming scenario into the world,
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, and I think the thing, too, is I also want to mention that I did a lot of work, emotional work. So in addition to all the nutrition and the physical side of things, I did a lot of emotional work. That was the one thing that movie also said that really opened my eyes, was that we really have to face a lot of our fears, a lot of them subconscious, a lot, face the birth trauma that, for me, that was weird. I was like, how do I clear a birth trauma that I don't remember? I don't even know if I have trauma. Like, how do I address that? And what was great is that, all these healers came into my life to help me address that. I think because I set the intention that I wanted to. But, you know, it was really bringing to light some of those fears that are in the really dark corners of my subconscious. And I remember, like, as each one was released, just feeling this sense of lightness. And I know for a fact that if any of those had been hidden in that birth process, that they would have slowed things down, and it would have, fear would have crept up. I had no fear when I was birthing. I didn't fear that I was going to die. I didn't fear that, you know, she wasn't going to come out. Even when she came out, she wasn't breathing. I didn't fear that she wasn't going to be able to breathe. So, but I don't think it would have been like that if I hadn't done that emotional work beforehand. Yeah. So I really advise, you know, anyone who wants to go this route to, you know, be willing and open to do some work and to address some things that, you know, might be hidden. I'll give you an example. One thing that was big that when it came out, it felt like I had birthed when this came out, but I was really afraid, you know, having read so much about how preferable for mom and baby natural birth is, I was very afraid that I might have a stronger bond with my second child because I would be able to have those really important moments after birth.
Yes.
So I remember thinking maybe I should just have a C-section the second time around because I don't want to love this baby more. Like, what happens to Madeline then? And, you know, maybe I should just even the playing field. So can you imagine if I had gone into this birth? If I had gone into this birth with that thought anywhere, you know there would have been trauma. You know that I would have sabotaged it. And really all it took was that thought coming in, and I was so afraid of it, I didn't even want to tell Jason what that thought was. But, you know, he said, you know, tell me. And I was like, you know, I'm afraid that I might love this baby more. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you know what? I've had that same thought. So it was just like both of us acknowledging that thought and releasing it was so powerful, you know. Right. So I think that's a big part of all of this in terms of if you want to experience, you know, a birth that, you know, is blissful, I really think that's going to be part of it.
Yeah, oh, that's beautiful. Thanks for sharing that, because I was wondering about that. And then when you mentioned the part of just Madeline being this master who made this all possible, it's like almost like she's like the heroine of this movie, you know?
She is. She totally is. Without her, we wouldn't be in Hawaii. I wouldn't have quit my corporate job. You know, none of it would have happened the way it's had. And now we're living this life that I could have only dreamed of. Or not even dreamed of. Yeah. Oh, well, thanks.
Wonderful.
Everyone does.
Yeah, everyone does. Yeah. Thank you so much, both of you, for just for all of us just coming together. I'm loving this. I really want to do it again.
Yeah, me too. And Amanda, thank you. These are true gems you've shared, and it's so exciting. And I think if every woman were to go out into the world and find something to add to the treasure and add to the puzzle, that would be amazing. If everyone could come back with these kinds of gems, and there's so many of them. We just need to go out collecting, and you've done a great job collecting.
Mm-hmm. You're a wonderful storyteller too.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you, ladies. All right, thank you everybody for listening, and thank you, Natalia. Thank you, Amanda. We'll talk again soon.